Mr. Carter, how are you, sir?
Oh man, blessed and highly favored. How about yourself?
Can't complain, can't complain. Happy Thursdays to you.
Happy Thursday to you as well, man.
Are you ready to motivate a few people? It's motivational Thursdays, right?
I think I am. I think I am. Let's make this happen.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, welcome everyone. We are the Carter Brothers, and it is Thursday, approximately 12:30. We usually try to jump off around 12:30. It is Motivational Thursdays, and so we try to do this podcast each and every week to inspire, motivate, and I don't know, just share a few nuggets each and every week. But we hopefully have a great conversation today. We're going to talk about some current topics and trends, and we'd also like to hear from you. So please chat. Please chat. Let us know you're in place. Like it, like the podcast, all that kind of good stuff, and we'll get this party on the road.
Yes, sir.
So I
What's
guess
the
the first
discussion
topic.
topic for today, Sterling?
Hey, it's pretty spot on. The topic is about what is it about Tiger Woods, right? So this guy has been through it, right? And we're going to talk about all that kind of good stuff. But
Right.
he's back in the news and more popular than ever. For those who don't know, today is day one of the Masters tournament, and Tiger is back. He's
He's
actually
back.
playing. I think he teed off at 10 o'clock this morning. And so the whole phenomenon that's Tiger, he has the whole world talking about it. So views are through the records right now because everybody wants to see what Tiger can do. And so it's just always a big question, like what is it about this guy that inspires and motivates and excites so many people? So we're going to talk about it today. What
You
do
know
you
what I
think?
think is all. I think what's also interesting, Sterling, is that it feels like in America or even just across the world, everybody likes to come back, right? Everybody
Yeah,
likes the
yeah.
person who falls from grace, but then finds a way to come back and still beat all the odds. It's interesting how people rally around the comeback story. So I love that part of it as well.
Exactly. It's definitely a story. I think I was reading one article, and the things that Tiger has been through, it's made him more real, right?
Right.
There was a point in time when he was just this untouchable, superhero, but now because he's had so many real issues that have happened. I think he's a little bit more relatable now than ever. So good deal. So I guess we should start off and talk a little bit about who is Tiger Woods for those out there who may not know. They may be living under a rock, as some people may say. But Tiger is arguably, I guess, considered one of the best or greatest golf players ever that has ever lived. He has a lot of wins. I think he's ranked right now as first in PGA Tour wins. Tied first in PGA Tour wins. He's
Right.
second in regards to men's major championships. He's the only person that has more major champions than he does is Jack Nicklaus. So Jack Nicklaus has 18 wins, I believe, and Tiger has 14. But he has been he's been a rock star for a long time. He's actually been ranked number one as in the world in regards to golf for 15 years total over his career. Not 15 years consecutively, but over his career, he's had 15 years where he's been ranked at the number one box spot. So really, really talented guy, and he's made a lot of money, broke a lot of records, and so we're going to talk about him today. Anything else, Dave?
No, I think you got all the good stuff.
Awesome. So we talked about his accolades and all that kind of good stuff. So let's really talk a little bit more about Tiger. And Steve, I want you to tell us what you think. What is it about Tiger Woods, and why is he so important?
Well, I think, so one, they talked about how Tiger was a very young guy coming into a sport that was typically known to be, just basically the entire pro tour was very much older white guys, right? That were a part of that tour process. When you talk about Jack Nicklaus and some of these other guys, when you looked at the players that were playing before Tiger came on the scene, it seemed like the age range, it was more of a middle age range to older age range, a lot of gray haired guys that were out there playing golf. So one, he was young. He brought in a different kind of swagger. They talked about how the fact that before Tiger came on, Tiger was more of a true athlete, right? He had the build of more of an athlete. He was a more muscular guy. And again, when you looked across the tour, a lot of the other guys were more based upon looking at it from the perspective of the mentality of how psychologically how to play golf, your technique on how to hit the ball. But I mean, Tiger had power, that he had the mental part, he had the technique, he had it all, right? So that was a big difference. And then, of course, you have to talk about the fact that he broke the color barrier, right? This was considered to be predominantly an all-white male sport, and for him to be a person of color, and he talked about situations where he came into the field house, he came into certain clubs and was treated differently because of his color. And I loved it. It was just a recent award that he received, and I can't remember which one it was. And he said something to the nature that he would go there. They wouldn't necessarily let him go into the field house or sort of different areas that he would typically be allowed to go into. And he would just say, basically, send me to where the tee box is, tell me where the 18th hole is, and I'll show you. Basically, I'll show you better than I could tell you. And I just liked his motivation there. So a lot of things that he brought, energy wise, youth wise, athletic build wise, and of course color wise, that changed the game.
Yeah, I agree with you, Steve. You're spot on. I mean, this guy completely changed the sport as we know it. I think that you're absolutely right. Before Tiger, it was all about. It was really just rich, typically older white men that played in the sport, and he made it okay for anyone to play golf. And he made it okay for younger people to play golf. Steve, you made a good point in regards to he was a young athletic guy that was playing a sport that typically older, really kind of overweight guys were playing. And he
Right.
came in with this athleticism. He had the intelligence. He had the mental prowess. He had the athleticism. He had it all. I mean, they talked about how they never thought that there would be a player in golf that had the total package,
Package.
and he had the total package. So yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think about now how many of my friends, our friends, that play golf, and it's just a regular sport that people do now. And I just don't
Exactly.
think that was the case, 20 years ago, or
Absolutely not.
in
Absolutely
the
not.
'90s. It just wasn't happening. So anyway, he's the guy is absolutely made a huge difference, not just in golf, but in the world, and how we look at things. And so he's made it possible for everyone to dream to be something that they never thought that they could be. So I love it, love it, love it. So before we get into our just kind of just key things that we learned from Tiger, of course, everybody learns a lot of different things, and we talked about or Stephen talked about a few of them already. But I guess we should go to our comments and see who we have in the building. So if you're here, just go ahead and give us a comment. Tell us if what you've learned from Tiger Woods, or do you think he's going to win the PGA or the Masters that he's playing right now? So if you guys think he's going to win, and you think it's a chance he's going to win, let us know. But right now we've got Tony Scott, and what's going on? Our good friend Tony, part of the 100, one of our brothers. We all have had our downturns in our lives, yet pushed through with our strength and faith and ourselves to strive forward.
Absolutely.
Tiger exemplifies having the drive to succeed. Spot on, Tony. That is spot on. That is, I mean, he is, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but resiliency is probably his middle name. He's been able to come back from multiple challenges, and that's what life, that's what life is. We've got to roll with the punches. So,
What's interesting about that,
uh,
Sterling, is that, and I like how Tony placed that. Some people are motivated, they're empowered, they show up when adversity is there, right? They're motivated when they have to bounce back and crawl from the bottom. And I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily a good or a bad thing, but you see that that certain people, they really turn it on when their back is against the wall and they have so much to prove. And Tiger seems to be that way. Like, I mean, not that he didn't prove his way, when throughout his entire professional career, but definitely when there's been adversity, it's almost like he lives for that moment to show everybody wrong. It's an interesting mentality that some people have, and I appreciate that about Tiger.
Yeah, that's a good point, Stephen. I was watching, I think, the movie about Kobe Bryant, right? And this was before he passed away and all that kind of good stuff. And he talked about the Mamba mentality and
Right.
how he goes into every basketball game and how he looks at kind of the environment, and really what he does is he looks, even though he's one of the best players ever, he looked at it like they didn't think that he was the best player ever, and it was up to him to break through that adversity and prove that he was the greatest player in the world. And so he used that to motivate him. And he said, and so he actually kind of taught his players to play with that same sense of tenacity and anger. Really, he just talks about how he just would come in with just this ferociousness, that he titled the Mamba mentality, and he was coming in to attack, and he wanted his entire team to be that ferocious when they played. So really
Absolutely.
interesting.
Absolutely.
Good deal. Great comment, Tony. Any comments on your side, Stephen?
No, we're good.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, first one, which is pretty obvious, but Stephen, let's talk about it.
Well,
Lesson learned.
work ethic, and we're going to talk about his dad a little bit later on. But Tiger talks about how many hours he would play golf and practice, and how his dad would have him out on the course and on the driving range, and they would just, hours and hours and hours and hours to hone his craft. And when you hear about people that are so effective and so excel so well in their careers, is you always hear about the sacrifice, right? You always hear about the number of hours that they put in, the number of days that they put in, the fact that they didn't have a childhood, that they weren't able to do the things that other kids could do or other people could do, because all they focused on was their craft, was becoming the best of the best of the best. And so, and you, unfortunately, you hear about a lot of these adults now that have gone through that kind of very, very strict upbringing, and that leads to other kind of mental challenges. But there's no doubt that that type of focus on being great, it gets you there. That's what work ethic is.
Yeah, Stephen, you said spot on, and you brought us right into our next one because you said focus. And that
Yeah.
was the other thing that we talked about in regards to what Tiger's been able to do, to stay focused. It's one thing to work really, really hard, but if you're all over the place, then you're not going to really succeed. You really need to focus on one thing, and golf has always been his centering point. It's what's kept him focused and what's kept him centered. So he's always kind of falling back to that. So despite what goes on and adversities, he's always been able to focus back into playing golf and playing it really, really well. So that's definitely a lesson learned from How to Be Great by Tiger.
That's right. That's right.
Head Steve.
Yeah, and we talked about that. I guess these all kind of start to run together,
Right,
but
right.
having the discipline to basically say, yeah, I could, take off, for a moment. I could go to sleep early. I could decide to just eat whatever I want to eat. I could decide not to run this extra mile, but having the discipline to say, no matter what the scenario is, or whatever the easy road may be, I'm going to go the more difficult road, because I know this more difficult road is going to ultimately lead me to my ultimate goal. And so that's what discipline is all about, is being able to make those difficult choices. It's always easier to go the easy route, but that definitely will not lead you to your ultimate goal.
Spot on. See, discipline is everything. I agree with you 100%. And resiliency. I think that if you look at any winner, any champion, One of the things that they are really, really good at is being resilient. There's no way that you can win without being resilient. In life, you are going to get hit with adversity. Something's going to happen that is going to knock you off your pedestal, and it's not about you getting knocked off the pedestal, is what you do in order to get back on it. And so what we've seen with Tiger time and time again is that he is a super resilient guy. And despite all the things that have happened to him, he's been able to conquer that adversity and still win. And when you look at those great champions and winners just across the board, any sport, any business owner, or just anyone that is doing amazing things, they're resilient. They have never, there's not one story. Even if you look at the Steve Jobs of the world, who of course now has passed away, but owned Apple. And if you listen to the story and read the story about Apple, which was once Macintosh, he
Right.
wasn't great for a long. There was some times of some huge adversity. He had to completely reinvent Macintosh and turn it into Apple, and launch this new technology in regards to iPods and iPads and the iPhone, which completely transcended what he was doing. But there's just so many great stories about resiliency. So truly, the heart of a champion, is their ability to be resilient. What do you think, Stephen?
Yeah, you're spot on. You're spot on. You gave some really good analogies and examples of people that have been resilient. And it's always about the ability to push through, to reinvent yourself. So all of the things you said, Sterling, are right on point. Resiliency is the key to success, and staying hungry and not just getting complacent. That's the key.
There you go. And our last point that we have learned from Tiger Woods and his story. Stephen, take it away.
So yeah, so Sterling and I were talking, and we just noticed how in a lot of the scenarios, there's a number of people that are on the top, and you see that sometimes, and it's not all the times. I mean, Sterling and I were raised by a single mother, and so we definitely don't think that it only takes a strong father to lead to success. Nothing against our single mothers at all, because again, Sterling and I were raised by single mothers, but by single my mother. But strong fathering really makes a difference. So we're just kind of thinking about, just recently the movie came out about Serena and Venus, and how strong their father was in their lives, and everyone who's seen the pictures of Tiger when he was young, and you always saw his dad right there by his side pushing him. We're talking about the keeping him focused and disciplined, and ensuring the work ethic was there. We talked about people like Kobe Bryant as well, strong father. Michael Jordan, strong father. A lot of people that gave those men a role model, if you will, or an example of what it meant to be a hard worker. And so definitely not something that is a requirement, but you can't help but look at that situation and see that there is a something that is the same across some of those very successful people. So again, Sterling and I are always pushing fatherhood and taking care of our kids, and making sure that we are being the right role models for our kids. And we're highly involved in mentoring to other young boys that don't have father figures. It's just very important to have that male role model in the house. What do you think, sir?
Yeah, Stephen, I agree with you 100%. I think that too often, and I understand that it happens sometimes, but too often I think that having a strong father, or having a father in the parenting, you know, situation sometimes is taken for granted. I think that a lot of times there's this anomaly, or this thing that we can parent, and that we can do this single parenting situation, and we can. It does happen every single day, but that is not necessarily the ideal situation, especially when you're talking about boys, right? So unfortunately, we have a lot of single parents. And when we're talking about single parents, usually, unfortunately, or fortunately, it's usually the mom that handles the brunt of the rearing of the child. But when it comes to rearing or parenting for a young boy, I think it's really, really important to have a strong, positive male role model in that person's life. And not all fathers are good fathers, because not everyone are great role models, right? But I really think that good or bad, we can learn from our fathers, right? Because Stephen and I, for the short period of time that our father was with us, he passed away at a young, when we were young. We were only 12, but still there are so many lessons that we learned within that short period of time, that good and bad, that you learn what not to do and you learn what to do. So I think I just think it's really important. So I agree with you 100%, Steve. And I think we got a comment here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Our cousin Keith. Okay, so Keith says the champions learn from and accept the challenges of adversity, and what tests their resiliency.
Absolutely.
Spot on, spot on. I mean, that's what champions do. I mean, they learn, and that's what we should do in life as well. Like we're not going to succeed every single time. So it's not about not failing, because you want to fail, because actually you learn more from your failures. And people say this all the time, and it's true. You learn more from your failures than you do from your successes. So it's just a matter of not repeating those same mistakes over and over and over again. You learn from them, and it makes you a better person. So, who knows? I mean, Tiger may be maybe a better player now, because he's got to focus a little bit more and work a little bit differently than he did before. Maybe he was just working off of raw talent, and now he has to use his brain a little bit more. Who knows? But real winners and champions, they take adversity and they use it as a tool to make themselves better.
Absolutely. I mean, and when you talk about resiliency too, what better game is golf when you talk about how you have to be resilient? It tests your talent, obviously, but the fact that you have to play well from the first hole all the way through the 18th hole, and the exhaustion starts to kick in, and there's something else that has to mentally keep you focused. I mean, this is a round of 18 holes takes how long, Sterling? A typical 18.
It's 4.5 hours, and
Exactly.
that's if you have a cart. I mean,
Right.
these guys in the Masters, that's not allowed. So you're walking the entire course.
Right.
So you're talking about 5 hours minimum.
Yeah,
That's a lot of time.
that's a lot of time, and to have to be at the top of your game the entire time. So that game of golf kind of is it. Even that the 18 holes speaks to what our approach should be to the game of life, and that it's not just you can't just perform well on the first 4 holes. First 8, first 9 holes, you could do real well, but if you don't finish strong, you still can't win the game. So we have to push through and be resilient and have that same focus and discipline and work ethic throughout the entire game.
Excellent, excellent. That's a perfect way to end it. I love the analogy about the holes, and it's spot on, Stephen. So we got a short one today. We finished up in record time, but again, we are the Carter Brothers. We're here every single Thursday. If you're interested in learning more about us, you can always go to our website, www.thecarterbrothers.com. Or you can find us here on Facebook, or our podcast is on Anchor and Apple Tunes and all kinds of other places. And our big business is carterahealth.com. So you can check us out there too. So just giving you guys some ways to contact us. But anything else before we go, Stephen?
I had a couple of comments that I should have probably put up a little bit earlier, but Tamara Beckford, Dr. Beckford mentioned that it is a truth that true failure is important. Sarah Blakely from Spanx, her father used to ask her to talk about something she failed at each day, and this was to normalize failure as a part of life and learn how to push past it. I love that. And then she also mentioned that resilience and great parenting, mentoring, father figure helps to foster self-esteem in our youth, and this helps that child throughout their entire life. So love those 2 points. Very well said, Dr. Beckford. We definitely appreciate your commentary. You're always dropping some great
Yes.
nuggets.
Yes. Miss Dr. Beckford in the house. Okay. Well, good deal. Well, this is it. We are done for Thursday. We'll see you guys next week.
All right. Have a good one. Until next time.
Okay. Get it to our little outro here.